Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Chewing the Fat with me, Phil Cobley, and my co-host, Adam Furman. How are you, Adam?
Very good. Haven't come off a night shift, so feeling normal this time.
You are looking decidedly more awake than you did in episode 1.
Yeah, and no man flu issues this time as well, so all good. How are you, my friend?
I am, not too bad, not too bad. I'm a little bit tired, I won't lie. Was back in the classroom all last week. That was knackering, that was tiring. Forgot how tiring classroom work can be.
Yeah.
And then a long weekend, so it's been busy. But yeah, generally okay, thank you. Generally okay.
Any alcohol involved over the weekend?
There was within proportion. There was measured amounts. Celebrating the us being allowed to go and actually have a drink indoors.
Yeah, and thanks to this British weather, what a godsend, because the weather here refuses to sort of acknowledge that summer exists. So being allowed to have a drink inside, yeah.
Like, exactly. Here we are. Like, what's this? The 24th of May is when we're recording this, and I think today, both where you are and where I am, it's just been on-off rain all day.
Yeah.
It's just been miserable. But hey ho, it's Britain for you, right?
Exactly. We like to have something to moan about. So
we love talking about the weather and we love moaning. So yeah, there we go. But everything else okay with you? Anything exciting going on in your life?
I received notification at the weekend that judge's commendation from my old law enforcement days. I think it was supposed to be last year, but thanks to our good friend COVID got in the way. But yeah, that was a nice nod. It was a very worthwhile job that I worked on, very enjoyable one. But unfortunately, I can't go to the awards evening because I'm down in Reading teaching a training course. But,
that sucks. But congratulations, that's awesome. That's an amazing achievement. Was it for a job that you did?
It is. I don't know how much I can talk about it. I know it's been
you don't have to mention the details.
But I worked alongside the cyber team at Norfolk and Suffolk, who one gentleman there did an amazing job on the investigation side of things. So I tip my hat to him. I just assisted him to help get the job over the line. But yeah, it was very good. A sort of a sneaky one. Virtual machines inside a MacBook, and yeah, it was good fun. It was different to the norm. So
fair. Oh, that's well done, mate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, personally, I've done nothing anywhere near as exciting as that. Although, I will quickly say this before we crack on. You know, I'll say this because you're a gamer, like I'm a gamer, right? I've been stupidly excited recently because of the release of Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I've been so excited. I'm such a Mass Effect groupie, and I have sunk a few hours into that in my evenings.
I was literally just about to say, did you manage to get a copy and then haven't had the chance to even open it? That's what I thought.
I never pre-order anything. I'm normally that guy that waits until it has a discounted price like a little while later. I actually pre-ordered it and made sure it was downloaded on release day. I've even last week when I was teaching, I'd get back kind of like 6:30 in the evening. I'd kind of have some dinner, finish mopping up some work. Even at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'd just be like, I'm doing an hour. I'm doing an hour before I go to bed. I've got to.
You may receive a judge's commendation for that commitment.
The way I play, definitely not. You saw what it was like in Warzone. I suck.
I can't say much.
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, right, we better get on because we have got a very full episode this week. Very full session. Loads of stuff to talk about, and we're going to try and not overrun like we did in episode 1.
Yeah.
We can't really get away with it 2 episodes in a row.
No.
I don't think. We have a load of industry news that we're going to blitz through. We've got a few articles and a few bits and pieces, a few releases and stuff that we're going to be talking about very briefly, kind of let everybody know about. And everything that we mentioned, we will obviously put the links in the descriptions so that you can access it later on. So we've got some really cool stuff to talk about in the news. And then we've got our topic, which we couldn't realistically ignore, could we, Adam?
No. It's something that the industry has had to come together for, but yeah, I don't think people will be surprised.
No. So we're going to be talking about some of the things that have rocked the boat in the industry over the last few weeks. So with the likes of Signal and Celebrate, and some of the things that have happened there, but we're looking at it from an industry perspective, and the impact it's had on the industry and all the vendors and all the investigators. Have a look at, talk about standards with that, and also start looking at a new standards document that SANS helped pull together, which is a industry-wide collaboration, which was awesome. And we had a rather special guest with us earlier, didn't we, Adam?
We did. Grace. Yeah.
Go on.
Do you want us to say now, or are we going to introduce later?
Yeah. Why not?
So Heather Mahalik joined us from Celebrate and SANS. She was one of the co-authors of the SANS validation document. So she came in to sort of have a chat about why that was put together, where people can get access to it, and she also let us know a couple of places where they'll be discussing it on live sort of webcast. So yeah, it's great to have her pop along.
Yes, it was really, really good of her to give up her time. We know how busy she is, and how many kind of different things she's involved with. So yeah, we managed to get a little bit brief pre-recording with her earlier, which was great fun. And she even allowed us to record a couple of forensic faux pas that she was willing to share as well. So we'll splice them into the show at the end on that section, which was great. But yeah, really important topic that I think everyone has been talking about, and one that I don't think we can ignore. I think it's right to talk about it. I think it's right to discuss it. But also look at some of the real positives that have come out of it for the industry, and kind of showing how everyone's come together and basically kind of a joint effort to kind of come out of it a little bit better than when we went in.
Definitely.
I think. So that's cool. First and foremost, though, Adam and I were having a chat earlier, and we just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody who's written in and spoken to us and sent us messages and comments and everything since episode 1. I think it's fair to say, don't you think, that the response was awesome?
Yeah, I think it blew the pair of us away, didn't it? And it sort of just helped Phil and I justify why we're spending our time doing this, is that we did want to help the industry. And just to hear that things like imposter syndrome and things are out there, you know, and other people feel the same. And we even had a person reach out to say that they'd use some of our examples in a job interview that they went for. So those sort of things are great to hear. And yeah, we just want to keep giving back to the community. So
yeah, absolutely. It was so nice of people to kind of even just leaving comments on like the YouTube channel after watching the video, and I've tried to reply to everybody who's left a comment. I've tried to put a reply and thank you all, but yeah, just please keep letting us know how things are going. Let us know what you think and any thoughts. And we've had a couple of people reach out and offer to come on the show, which is awesome, and thank you. And if there's any topics you want us to discuss as well, we've had. I don't think we're going to have time for it in today's episode. We'll briefly mention it later on. But we had a number of people from UK law enforcement ask us to look at the recent bit of legislation that was released about the forensic science regulator in the UK and them getting statutory powers, and the impact that is going to have, which I think is a awesome topic that we could probably bundle into kind of not just the UK but kind of internationally, like forensic standards and legal powers and stuff around imposing such standards. And that was a subject that people wrote into us and asked us to look at. So please, we'll probably put it in a later episode, but please keep writing into us and telling us the things that you're interested in. We're doing this for you. We enjoy doing it, and we'll keep doing it while there are people who want to listen and kind of hear what we've got to say. And
we think we've covered most of the podcast platforms that people want us to put the content out on. Again, and we didn't actually mention the email address last time, did we?
We didn't. What is our email again? I can't remember.
The email address is podcast.ctf, so chewing the fat, so just .ctf@gmail.com. So podcast.ctf@gmail.com.
There we go. Yeah, so nice and simple, nice, straightforward. It's a way for you to get hold of us if you need to. I'll promise I'll try to remember it next time. It's one of those days.
Well, it wasn't until we got round to actually planning this episode where I said to Phil, we didn't actually mention the email address. So apologies for that, but please, we'll put it in the description as well, so you've got a link to it and everything. So if you want to drop us an email, then do feel free. Please don't spam us. And
that would be unfortunate.
And also, apologies for the way the show notes look on Spotify. That is out of our control. We space them accordingly, and you can see that on the Acast website, or I think Apple and Amazon both display them properly, but Spotify just made a complete mess. So if you want to see links, go to Acast or another platform.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. We can only do what we can do with the tools, but we did try to make it look nice and formatted properly, and Spotify just went, here's some text. I'll strip out all your formatting. But there we go. Okay, right. Shall we crack on with some industry news? I genuinely want a chime or something. I want a mock news beat that we're going to put on at some point. We need to sort something like that out. Even if I got a kazoo and started like doing the tune or something to like a news program or something. I don't know.
I'm going to get you a kazoo now.
You're going to get me a kazoo?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. And my son got bought some by his auntie, and my wife will happily get rid of them out of our house for you to have.
No. What I think should happen is I shouldn't be sent the kazoo. I think you should use the kazoo.
Definitely not.
You could use the kazoo and I'll read out the news. There you go.
Yeah.
It's fair trade, right?
The way that shifted.
I see. That's the old sergeant in me. You see, the old kind of like, no, I'll take your problem and I'll return it to you.
Rolls downhill, as they say.
It's like the trainer thing, isn't it? Someone asking you a question, you go, but what do you think? Tell
me the answer.
I'm going to flip this on you because I don't really know the answer. I need time to research this myself.
Right, let's get back to the news.
Let's get back to the news. Right, first things first. And this video is going to come out terribly because I'm swinging on my chair. I can see that now. Oh, you've noticed we got rid of the green screens on this one. We have gone for au naturel. I'm in my home office, and Adam's over in the MSAB Reading office. But we decided to ditch the green screens. We're going to give this a try, see what we think. Let us know what you think. Do you prefer it when we had the green screens? We just found it a bit of a faff.
And as we mentioned at the start of the show, with having guests on, we can't expect them to have green screens, and then it would look strange on the formatting. So
yeah, please do let us know what you think. But we've just thought now we'll try it without the green screens, and it is so much easier not having to pull up the damn thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Right, yeah. I'll try not to swing on my chair too much. So, industry news. First things first. Quick shout out to our friend Josh Hickman. He has released another Android image, a new blog called "The State of Android Health Data Part 1," which to me, investigative brain on, suggests there's going to be a Part 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
You think?
Yeah.
Cunning as a fox.
Yeah.
Wearing a hat saying "I am cunning." So that's looking at health data, and he talks about the different operating systems and some of the proprietary operating systems like Garmin and things, and how a number of vendors are moving over to a standardized kind of operating system. The Wear OS is becoming Wear, I think.
Yeah.
So,
just another really interesting and detailed piece by Josh once again, really. So
yeah,
definitely worth checking that out.
Absolutely. So please do. We'll put the link in the description, but please go and check that out and show him all your support and all your love. Josh, we love what you do. Thank you. Keep it up. Amazing stuff. There was an article you flagged up that you wanted to mention about Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, it was more. There's a piece of software made by a very talented Alex Caithness at CCL, which was originally called Ribbon, a sort of data decoder. Fantastic tool, and Alex got me. I was on a course. Alex was teaching Python, and he gave me a first look at Ribbon in its sort of infancy and asked my impressions, and I loved it. And he was telling me how he wanted to call the tool Rabbit Hole, and he wanted to do that because it was when you're investigating a P list within a database, and then within that P list there's another embedded P list, and so the saying the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And obviously he wasn't allowed to call it that, so it's just been re-released and rebranded with some improvements, and he's finally got to call it Rabbit Hole. So that's why I wanted to mention that, is that well done, Alex, you finally got your tool out there and called what you want.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's a really good idea to put a mention of it. They've got a little PDF document that's out now, which tells you a little bit about it. Again, we'll have the link down below. Really great tool. When I was actually teaching last week with Control F, doing a smartphone app forensics course, had a very quick look at a demo version of it. And yeah, it was passing like level DBs and stuff, and just kind of it was doing a Ribbon plus, as you would expect. So please do go check that one out. It is a really, really, really good tool. So Alex, again, thank you for all that you do for the industry. You do an awful lot. So
and on the back of that, talking about another data decoding tool, is I was saying to Phil earlier that I'm really surprised the amount of students that come on MSAB courses that have never heard of CyberChef, which has been created by GCHQ here in the UK. It's a website where you can download an offline version for decoding things like base 64, and it's a really good little tool, and the best part, it's free.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have a link for that, don't we, or do we not? I can't see one on my notes.
Yeah.
Yes, we get a link for that. To echo, like as I said, CyberChef, great tool. Go have a look. Have a bit of a play. Very, very good one, that one. So what else is going on in the industry? We had an announcement with Detego partnering with MSAB.
Yeah.
So you've got the computer forensics of Detego and kind of the mobile forensics of MSAB partnering up for some kind of venture, which is all quite exciting.
Yeah. Great for simplifying things, keeping it in one place. So yeah.
Absolutely. What else we got? We've got. There was an interesting article again that you flagged up, and this kind of almost like a theme of kind of articles that kind of came out on the BBC. And I know that the BBC is read kind of globally by a lot of people. but there was an article on should encryption be curbed to combat child abuse.
Yeah, so it's sort of referencing the whole end-to-end encryption and whether that's a good thing, which obviously for users' privacy it is, but then you also expect the law enforcement to catch the bad guys. So, you know, it was just a really interesting article, and it was sort of coming from the Internet Watch Foundation, sort of the work that they do and how they're funded by the tech industry. But yeah, just definitely worth including in the notes, I thought.
Yeah, I think so. 'Cause it really highlighted that kind of a real difficult debate, because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And yes, you've got to protect people's privacy, and you've got to consider. We're quite lucky in this country, but you've got to consider other countries where there kind of people are oppressed. There are kind of regimes that kind of do abuse their citizens.
Yeah.
And so data privacy is really, really important for so many people, especially those in such environments. But then when you look at law enforcement, you've got people, victims of crime, and the general public expecting policing and intelligence services to be able to keep everybody safe and protect them from organised crime groups and things. With encryption, if there aren't any ways of getting around that encryption, with the way that encryption is increasing in strength and how the challenges of getting access to encrypted data is increasing, the ability to investigate that criminality and prosecute those people responsible for criminality is getting more and more difficult. So it's really difficult balance. I don't know what the answer is, but it's definitely a debate that will go on, I think.
Yeah, I can't see it ending anytime soon. Obviously, WhatsApp has had end-to-end encryption for some time, and
you got WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal. They're all kind of end-to-end. This was all kicked off because Facebook talking about end-to-end for Messenger, and it's just becoming more of a challenge. The thing is, when you get things like quantum computing coming in, obviously current data encryption versus quantum computing is kind of and then you've got who was it? Google announced the other day that within the next 10 years they believe they can release the first commercially available quantum computer for daily use.
Yeah.
And when that happens, current encryption practices in theory is just gone out the door. And then we're on to quantum encryption.
Yeah.
And then it's just
where
does it
know.
stop?
Like you say, we could have an entire podcast just about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that article from the BBC specifically talking about encryption and tackling child abuse.
Yeah.
So quite an interesting article there. We had another article as well. It's a paper that was released by was it this University of New South Wales?
It was, yeah.
Sydney.
It was.
And that's the impacts of COVID-19 on the risk of online child sexual exploitation.
Yeah, sort of how COVID has increased that risk. Because obviously people are having to work from home, or they don't have access to the tools, they don't have, you can't access this sort of material working from home. You wouldn't want to. That's not a secure environment for you to be assessing that content, to have support.
For clarity, we're talking about the investigators trying to investigate, not people trying to access. For clarity.
Yeah, we're talking about the investigation side of things.
Yeah.
And has that impacted the investigation part of it? And it's a thoroughly interesting read, and we've linked out to the PDF of that paper. So
yes, it's a very, very interesting read actually. So do go and have a look at that. There was another piece that you wanted to mention about an ex-colleague of yours.
Yeah, so an ex-colleague of mine from the Suffolk Digital Forensic Unit has written a piece of software for Project Vic exports, so for CAID in the UK.
CAID in the UK being the Child Abuse Investigation Database?
Yes.
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 I got that
So,
right. Yeah.
Obviously, my ex-colleague wrote in saying that he needed to debug some exports and digging into those. Sometimes they were massive. The piece of software that he's written looks through the case details on an export, media items, media files, and does validation to make sure that when you import it into your grading tool or up to the CAID database, that the required details are there and you're not going to get any errors. And I know my ex-colleague reached out to CAID and Project Vic, who recommended that he got in touch with forensic tool vendors to sort of include it in their product and things like that. I know MSAB have looked at it and are looking to potentially adopt it into our tool, or at least reference people to it in case they're coming up to issues with their sort of CAID exports. But please feel free to reach out to us here at the podcast, and I can put you in touch with my ex-colleague who's more than happy to share this piece of software, because if it helps you do an export with 0 errors, then it's a good thing, and he's more than willing to share it. So
awesome. Another fine example of community coming together, supporting one another.
Yeah,
love it.
Definitely
Love it. Fantastic. And that was called Cascade.
Cascade, yeah. Very, yeah. I can see what you did there with the name.
It's like slot that in there.
Yeah.
Tenuous links and stuff.
Yeah.
Then our final article that I was going to mention was the Microsoft and UK government make it easier for public sector to use Azure. But I think we decided we were going to shelve that for another podcast, that kind of topic, aren't we?
Yeah, because like we said prior to recording that this is potentially a whole podcast in itself, and Phil and I were discussing how a mobile phone will literally just be a client that accesses a super duper computer in the cloud, and you basically decide how many dials you turn up to 10.
Yeah. Might be a very controversial view, and by all means feel free to write in and complain about me. But my personal view is that probably before we get to that quantum computing thing with Google, but over the coming years, acquisition forensics, especially for mobile devices, is going to peter off, and it's going to become a thing of the past, or it's only going to happen with things like burner phones and kind of those lower end devices, and the majority of devices are going to be, like you say, like dumb clients that you just kind of use as a portal into a software service or cloud service of some sort, where the data will be stored. So rather than doing data acquisition on physical devices, law enforcement will be doing almost data requests to these companies to request the data, and then law enforcement will mostly do analysis of data as opposed to acquisition of data. That's my personal opinion of where things probably end up going. I might be wrong.
But that's why we said that we could dedicate a whole podcast to this. The article, in essence, is just about how Microsoft and the UK government have made it easier for the UK to procure using that platform. And obviously, AWS, IBM, that there's a lot of players in this industry. But it's just, now the UK government are coming on board with using cloud, that change is going to come soon, I feel.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Right, fantastic. To avoid us going on a tangent and talking about that subject, let's move on to our topic piece, I think. As you say, all those news articles, links all in the description, and if you want to kind of touch base with us about any of those, then please do let us know. There's loads of other stuff going on, but we just don't have time to cover it, unfortunately. But yeah, so our topic. Did you want to introduce our topic for our listeners, Adam?
So the first topic we're going to cover is the 6 steps to mobile validation that has been put together by SANS and the entire industry, really.
What I think we should do is, because we did have Heather in to talk about this, so I think we'll we'll cut over and have a look at what she's had to say. Right, we're on. We are being recorded. So everyone, we are absolutely honoured to be graced with the amazing presence of Heather Mahalik of SANS and Celebrate. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you ever so much for joining us with your busy schedule that I know you have.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's honestly our pleasure. We're really excited to kind of hear you talk about the recent project you've been working on with pretty much everyone. I think it's pretty much everyone on the 6 steps to successful mobile validation for mobile forensics with SANS. I mean, how did this project come about? Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us what was going on with it.
Sure. So honestly, it was probably about 2 years ago. Jessica Hyde and I wanted to do a talk together at Techno Security, but it was kind of odd, if that's what you want to call it, to people because we were celebrating Magnet and we were going to talk together. So it didn't go over well. That's how I'll put it. And we still wanted to collaborate. And then the For Mobile project, like all these things were happening, and Mike and Jess and I all working together, like 3 different companies working very well. And I feel like with all the things coming to light on this can be hacked and this can happen and all these bad things are going to happen, I'm like, forensically, we should form a bond and tell people what the truth is, but make it easy. Because things like case and For Mobile, it's really in depth and it can intimidate a lot of law enforcement. So something that's just, okay, this is going to make me feel more confident if I have to testify. I can follow these steps. And we wanted it to be easy, approachable, and from the community. And honestly, when I first reached out, I talked to Jess and I said, will you do this? And she's like, with SANS? Yeah, I can do this. This is great. So then I started approaching others and asking others like, hey, will you approach Belkasoft? Will you approach Oxygen? And everyone said yes. I thought everyone would say no. We thought we would have 5 authors and then we had like 15. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So we prepared for the worst and the best outcome. And now it's fantastic because I actually made a joke with Lee Reber from Oxygen. I was like, Celebrate, SANS, Magnet, and Oxygen are in a room. What can happen? But it's like, it's amazing because we're all sharing amazing insight and finally a community coming together, dropping anything on what we represent outside of what we care about. And I think that's really important. We all care about the same thing. So that's what really matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, it's such a fantastic initiative. And like you say, to have all those forensic providers and vendors kind of all working collaboratively after a bit of a shake-up in the industry, I suppose, recently. And just basically saying, no, you know what, this industry, we're all in it together. We're all
stick together,
You know, we're going to fight this and push this, and we're actually going to prove to you just how trustworthy our tools are and how much we're doing this for law enforcement and investigators.
And to simplify, like Heather said, that's the main thing, is showing people that it's not difficult, and the agreed standards can help simplify it for everybody, and that there's no point everyone creating the same document and redoing the same work. So the fact that everyone has come together is the best approach.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Belkasoft reached out to SANS yesterday saying, hey, can we put this on our website? And they should. Like, it's fantastic. We want everyone to share it and spread the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the list. I mean, I'm just looking at it now, just on my other screen. You kind of, like you say, you've got Celebrate, Magnet, MSAB, Oxygen, Grayshift, Belkasoft, Paraburn, Elcomsoft, and obviously SANS, kind of all pooling resources and kind of giving their time to create this, what is actually turned out to be a really good document as well, a really good set of standards. So, I mean, if people are interested, if they're how do they get hold of this? If our listeners are like, that sounds
so
cool,
it's pretty easy. You
Is
can.
there any way particularly?
Yeah, you could go to the SANS reading room, but I think the easiest way to do it is just Google 6 steps to mobile validation SANS, and it will pop up. And you may hit vendor sites. I know Belkasoft is putting it on their site. I think Elcomsoft may have it already. Other vendors may start posting it, but you'll hit it immediately. And it's a PDF, and you download it, you'll see all the vendor icons, and we'll be discussing it at 2 events coming up. So it'll be nice to actually hear us break it down and what it means to us, and then how to apply it. And I hope we disagree. That's the cool thing about it. I hope we throw out different situations and different scenarios where you hear, oh, in this type of case, I would never do this, but in this one, I would do X instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it needs to be challenged so that it can be robust.
Yes.
And it needs to be scrutinized so that people have trust in it. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think sort of the biggest thing in the UK that we're seeing, Heather, is the differentiator between a suspect, victim, and a witness. How you deal with those different types of handset, and it's good to see it all covered in that document.
Yes. And you know what? That's a fantastic topic for us to cover during our first webcast.
So you mentioned some webcasts when we were talking beforehand. What is going on? What events are there?
So Techno Security, June 8th.
Do you want to talk?
Sure. So Techno Security, June 8th. We are going to be doing a live webcast sponsored by SANS. It's going to run late, unfortunately, 6:30 in the evening Eastern time. But we still have Christoph and Mattia joining at like 1 in the morning, their time, which is amazing. And I think there's 9 of us.
That's dedication.
Yes, 9 of us hopping on, and we're going to break down the beginning of the document. So more mobile device handling, how not to mess the device up, different scenarios like you were just saying, Adam. Like, what if it's a cooperating victim versus a suspect in a homicide? You would probably handle their devices differently based upon what you have legal authority to do. So we're going to cover those topics. And then round 2 is going to be live from the D4 Summit, which is a free event. And you should attend some of the best talks, I think, at any conference. And I am biased, of course, but it's all fresh topics, all fresh talks. And we are right after lunch on day 1. That way, anyone in Europe can attend as well. And it's virtual. So there's really no reason not to attend. And we're going to be talking more about when you have to verify, when you have to validate, and when you should use more than one tool. Because sometimes you don't have to. Like if you're in MSAB and you're in Examine, and you can validate within Examine, you don't have to get another tool and reload it and reprocess it. But sometimes you do have to. So we want to talk about when it's important.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great topic. Very exciting. Free to attend as well. So anybody listening, you've heard it
and
now.
at a decent time.
Yeah, exactly. There's no excuse. It's European kind of in the afternoon. It's free. Get down there and have a listen. Sounds fantastic. What we'll do, Heather, is we'll put the links for the different events down in our description for the show. What we'll do is we'll also, I'll tell you what, to try and make it life easier to save people having to kind of throw into Google as well, we'll even put a link for the standards as well. We'll grab that, put that into the descriptions as well, and then people can access everything and hopefully leave some comments, feedback, thoughts, get involved in the discussions, and kind of, Heather, if you want, then if you want to kind of give us any kind of way of getting hold of you, if viewers want to kind of get hold of you or SANS or whoever as well, then again we'll put anything in the description, and people can get in touch and let you know what they think.
Okay, yeah, I'll send that to you.
So, but thank you ever so much for your time and letting us talk to you about this fantastic initiative, this fantastic project. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, me too. Like I said earlier, just grateful to have Heather come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, massive thanks to Heather for taking the time out of her busy schedule to talk to us about that. Really interesting, though. Really great to see so many vendors all collaborating together on this issue. So, I mean, those 6 steps, I'm not sure really, I'm very conscious of the time. So, but those 6 steps that we're kind of looking at for that paper, kind of looking at step 1, determine all possible extraction methods for your search authority. Makes sense, the first step. Moving on to process the data in more than one tool. obviously Heather was talking about how you can, in some of those talks that she mentioned with some of those conferences and the events and stuff, how sometimes you might not necessarily need to do that. You might be able to actually validate on one single tool. I'm definitely going to be dialing into that, because I'm very curious to hear what's going to be said on that one. But yeah, process the data in more than one tool. Deep dive forensics. Where's the push button stops? Where the push button stops and forensics examinations begin. Validation types: visual, cross tool, call details, detail records, CCTV, carving, replication is step 4. 5 is reporting, sharing your findings, and then 6 is education, which I think kind of also works with kind of competence and training and kind of,
and resources like podcasts, like this sort of stuff.
Yeah. If we could issue CPD for this, then I would love to. Maybe that's something we should aim for. We should aim to try and get this CPD accredited. Watch the podcast, get CPD points. That'd be quite nice. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to go look at that document, though, really, really recommend you go and have a look at it. And as always, link is in the description.
The guys have just done a great job of keeping it simple, haven't they? That was the point Heather was trying to make to us, and from my view of the document, that's what it does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Heather did also mention the 4Mobile project, and how the 4Mobile project is developing these kind of, it's mostly predominantly the EU, but these international standards that I think tie in very closely to the 6 steps document that SANS produced with everybody else. And those 4Mobile standards very explicitly explaining how they incorporate all of the existing kind of standards that are out there, and kind of almost kind of try to help piece them together in a big jigsaw. So things like ISO 17025, ISO 27043, and all of that 27 series of ISO standards, which kind of involve the investigation of digital evidence, essentially. Just all kind of bringing together, including the ACPO principles and everything else, into a internationally accepted standard, which surely can only be a good thing. Definitely, And you start looking at collaboration between, like the recent operations with EncroChat. That was an international effort.
Did you see the best news story to come out of that?
Go on.
You must have done. That a man got identified for his love of Stilton cheese.
Oh yes, I did see that. Yeah. Didn't they? They analysed the fingerprints.
They did, and his palm. Yeah. So for people who haven't seen that article, I think it was Merseyside Police reported it, or Merseyside.
I think so.
Yeah, it was
in the UK.
Yeah, it's from a chat thread where somebody held up a block of cheese, obviously asking someone, "Shall I get this?" And experts ran analysis on his fingerprint and palm prints and discovered who it was.
All from a photograph. On an encrypted chat.
His love of cheese got him charged.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know what? I wasn't obviously involved. I do love cheese that much, though, that if it was either go to prison and have cheese, or never have cheese again, I'd probably get my orange jumpsuit out. I have to admit, I do love cheese.
Comes with age, though. Cheese.
Like all good things.
Yeah. Just as your taste buds die as you get older.
I'm not going to start commenting about age right now. No. Anyway, just very briefly before we kind of move on to our next, the topic that kind of links into the standards. If anyone hasn't seen it, there's also an article out on Forensic Focus about digital forensic standards in Q1 2021. Again, link will be below. And that article kind of summarises a lot of different standards and a lot of different discussions that have happened from different organisations and publications that have come out about standards in forensics. And I mean, I think that summarises it fairly.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
I think the best part of all of this is it saves everybody from reinventing that same wheel. You know, if we all work and agree to them standards, that, you know, it sets everyone on the same platform, doesn't it? So it's good.
Yes, exactly. And as we know, standards are very, very important and critical, particularly things like ISO 17025 with method validation and verification of your tools and your processes, and very, very important for building trust in tools.
See what you did there.
See my tenuous link again?
Yeah.
So bad at this. But yeah, building trust in tools, which leads us on to the topic that has probably been the topic for the last few weeks, really, hasn't it, in the digital forensic world, which was everything that kind of happened with the clash between Signal and Celebrate, which we can't ignore. We can't pretend it didn't happen. It happened. It was everywhere. It was all over news outlets and things. And it was I think it's fair to say it was a bit of a shock to the industry.
Yeah.
As a whole.
I don't think anyone in the industry expected that backlash.
No. And I don't think it's fair to criticise any specific tool or focus on any particular tool or vendor. I think it from an industry perspective, it puts concern and doubt into the minds of others around the output of some of the investigations, regardless of what tools you've been using.
Yeah.
Which isn't good. I mean, it all stemmed, if you don't know, it all stemmed from some articles back in December, I think, last year, 2020.
Yeah.
And there was a claim of being able to break Signal encryption. There was Signal responding with a kind of, no, you can't, that's not true. And then there was a bit of toing and froing, and then all of a sudden this new blog post came out from Signal, who essentially reverse engineered the forensic tool, I think is...
Yeah, I think they reverse engineered the UFED touch, wasn't it? That's what they claimed off the back of a truck,
Yeah. And kind of commented on the tool itself, some of the software and the code and the exploits.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that were mentioned about manipulating reports, corrupting data, the ability to essentially set up the app almost like as a booby trap for the tool. So when it's passed, it ends up triggering a load of exploits from the app, which screws up the tool.
But this is nothing new to the forensic industry, like especially with computer forensics. But you were always expecting that the USB that was going to be loaded with a kill switch or something. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's I think it was. I think it's possibly highlighted a few things that probably needed to be looked at anyway, and I think they would have been looked at, and it's something that the industry would have got around to anyway. It just kind of forced the hand. Celebrate came back and did have a response and kind of almost immediately came out with a patch. Whether that's patched things or not, I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I don't know whether that's done the trick or not, but they came back with a response, kind of reaffirming their dedication to the industry, to law enforcement, to people having trust in the tools. And
you were right, Phil, that this affects the entire industry, because if one defence lawyer uses this to cast doubt to a jury, it doesn't matter what tool is being presented in the box. So this does affect everyone in this industry. So
but I think going back to the standards and things like validation of tools, I think it really just highlights the need to do that. Because let's be honest, anti-forensics isn't new. It's something that's always been there, at different varying levels of success and capability.
CCleaner has been out for years.
Exactly. That gets flagged on every forensic tool as, yep, this is dangerous. But yeah, anti-forensics has been around for a long time, and I think just making sure that investigators and laboratories validate those tools with known inputs and known outputs, knowing that the tool is able to perform correctly, and then validating and verifying those results, doing your manual checks as well. I think kind of combining all of those things together, you're going to be able to provide the reassurance necessary to say, no, this tool has worked as it should have done.
Yeah.
But I don't know about your thoughts. It also really flagged to me and highlighted to me the importance of the competency of the investigator to understand what the tools are meant to be doing, and understanding how the tools work, and mostly automating things that we could do ourselves manually, and therefore with the validation work, having the ability and the knowledge and expertise to then be able to manually check some of those results properly, so that you can then turn around and say, no, the tool has automated all of these processes, but when I manually checked it, this is actually what I got. Which reaffirms that the tool has worked as it should have done.
Anything that sways away from push-button forensics, in my opinion, is good. So, the fact that it reinforces that need for manual validation is a good thing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
when you testify and give evidence, you can't stand in the box and say, I pushed a button. That doesn't cut it.
No, exactly. I mean, there's time and place. I think there is a need for frontline forensics. I think kind of that kind of very simplistic kind of turnkey solution, like the kiosk units that you find out there, is important. And I think digital forensics should be a part of every single investigator's and officer's training from the very beginning. Just as important as traditional scene forensics.
And Heather highlighted that earlier, didn't she, with how many times you need to validate it. Would you put the same level of validation into a theft from shop as you would a homicide?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I difficult subject. I don't want to. I think I don't want to labour the point, but especially because of the time, we're kind of ticking on longer than I was hoping we would again. But definitely a difficult one for the industry. But I think the positives that have come out of it have been the likes of that vendor collaboration with the standards document. Everybody basically pulling together and saying, no, we can be trusted. We do have good, decent tools. We are responsible coders, developers, and we have the investigators kind of they're the priority. They're giving them the trust to kind of use the tools and try and support them in using those tools, which was really, really nice to see. And I think it's a first for the industry, I think.
I think Heather sort of indicated that as well, didn't she? I can't remember if it was before we recorded, but sort of saying it was surreal that you got so many of the. She was expecting everyone to say no, we're not going to contribute, but
and then everyone kind of was like, we'll chip in. It's like, cool, awesome, everyone's here.
Like a scene from Anchorman or something.
Yes, yeah. So it's kind of like the industry's equivalent of the Avengers Assemble or something, I thought it was pretty cool. So, awesome. I'm really conscious of time again.
Yeah. We've
nattered on again. I say I probably have.
So we were going to talk about the FSR bill, but I think we covered the fact that we're going to include a few links so you can have a read, but that's definitely going to be a topic for another podcast. We're just definitely not going to have time for that today. We have got a few links from the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah,
we're best leaving that because otherwise we're never going to have time.
No. No, I think we're pushing it as it is. So, right. On that note, let's draw a line under that topic. We can always continue it another day. That's fine. Yeah. And let's now go to what I love, my favourite part of the show. I don't know about you, but let's have a look at our forensic faux pas. So, I want to cut almost straight away to Heather's because she's recorded, I think it was 3 with us. She told us 3. Yeah, I said, I asked her for 1. She gave us 3. It was brilliant. Yeah, she was like, oh, I've got 1 more. Brilliant. So, bearing in mind how long Heather's been in the industry, how well known she is, how well respected she is, and the experience she has, especially for those people who are new to the industry, have a listen to this. Now, one thing that we are going to ask you, you're welcome. One thing we are going to ask you, kind of have pushed you to see if you wouldn't mind leaving us a forensic faux pas. Now, I'm sure you've kind of heard about the snippet that we do, the forensic faux pas. Would you be willing to tell us 1 or more, it's up to you, of embarrassing or amusing stories of things that have happened to you in your experience within forensics?
Of course.
I mean, up to you. Just bear in mind that we are ticking the box on YouTube to say there is no explicit content. So just to say.
Nice.
But yeah, feel free to enlighten us with your forensic faux pas.
You know, I have a lot of them, and I wrote a blog once, and I made a joke. I love memes. I love making jokes, and I put a meme at the beginning. It's like, I don't know more than you. I've just made all the mistakes before you. So that's really how I summarize myself. My first one, it was my first search warrant ever. I was 22 years old. We were over the border in Mexico, and my boss said, go get some hard drives and bring them back to me. I barely knew what a hard drive was, so I thought it would be awesome and very impressive if I brought like 20 at the same time. These are old platter hard drives. So I have them all in my hands and I'm walking. They all shatter to the floor. Not good. So me trying to show off like, look.
Oh no.
And part 2 that wasn't good, I didn't document which machines they came from. So I was like, oh, this was a mess. So that one's not terrible. But one that I thought was going to end my career. Yes, my career ending one. So I thought this was maybe 2008. And my boss at the time had this rule where we had to learn Linux and use Linux every Thursday. I was one of the lower people to be billed. So they sent me to this huge SEC investigation by myself to image some servers. And I remember using Linux. And I called my boss. I was like, I think I'm overwriting their servers right now. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I think it's going the wrong direction. And I felt all the blood leave my body. I was sure I was overwriting, and I wasn't stopping it. I'm on the phone with him. He's like, kill it, kill it, kill it. So I kill it, and he's like, read me the command you type. And I'm not kidding. I was like shaking, like, I'm going to be fired. This is awful. And he's like, read me your commands. So I was reading it, and I was reading from the bottom up, and I remember he's like, oh no, this is bad. And he's like, wait a second. Is that where it ends? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, you didn't mount it. And I was like, I have never been so happy that something didn't mount correctly because everything looked like it was running. And I lost my mind. And of course it wasn't my fault. I'm like, this is your fault. I should not be here alone. I am inexperienced. And then the other bad one was.
Oh no, there's more. There's more.
And this one is more of my friend's fault. It was the John McCain campaign. And his servers were hacked. So we were hired to work this investigation. And as soon as we get there, he's like, the first rule is never take down their servers. I'm like, okay. He literally hits enter and everything crashes. It was not good. We were in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. But then there's always like, you get a phone, not in English, you press the wrong button. You're like, what did I delete? What did I turn off? So I've made so many mistakes over the years. And I always tell anyone who says, oh, no, you don't make mistakes. You haven't done forensics then. Because we all do stupid things. You just have to laugh, learn, and press on.
And I think that's what, and that's what Phil and I wanted to cover with these, is we wanted new examiners to understand that we've all made them, and we'll continue making them, and that's just human.
It's true.
Exactly. Yeah. I wasn't going to measure it. I'm gonna quickly throw one in there because I was reminded of this week. This was more of less of something that I did horribly wrong, and more of a health and safety risk through lack of budget. And I was in a job not too long ago where I was having to do some chip offs on some Nokia 105s. And the idea was to basically get this device that had been kind of almost crumped in half and kind of thrown to the ground by a baddie. My idea was to kind of basically get a donor phone and move the chip across and then do the read. I had an IR station in the lab, but our lab was brand new, or relatively brand new, and there weren't actually really any walls anywhere. It was all glass walls. And they hadn't actually given me any shielding for my IR station for anyone. And it would be impractical to get all the glasses for everybody and kind of have people just sitting at their desks typing away with glasses on just in case. So there was no budget for anything. So I built a shield around my IR station using an old cardboard box and some packing foam. And I got a load of cable ties, and it was a beautiful work of art. It was amazing. It took me like a whole afternoon, but I built this whole encompassing shield, and I even put a little door on the front of it. And a few weeks later, we had a UCAS inspection for ISO 17025.
Oh my gosh!
And you quickly hit it.
They quickly got it, and they hid it behind the server. And it was just like, yep, that's going to go up in flames. That is going to catch on fire. The whole lab's going to burn down. It's going to be my fault. But the chip off worked. So that's all I say. But there we go. Heather, those are fantastic. Thank you ever so much for sharing those. We're thinking that maybe at some point we might end up doing like a best of compilation, and I'm pretty sure at least one of, if not a couple of those, will be in that at some point.
I think you could probably get a really good meme of someone dropping hard drives.
Yeah, that is a brilliant idea, especially given how much you've already told us that you love memes. Yeah, maybe we can try and get that drawn up, and you can include it in your slide deck at the event.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Thank you ever so much for your time, though. We really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show with us. I know how busy you are. It'd be lovely to keep chatting. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
thank you.
If ever you want to come back on the show, or you've got anything you want to tell us, you want to send anything else in, then just let us know, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to find time to fit you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, no, pleasure. Thank you ever so much. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. And we've definitely got to make that meme.
We have to make the meme. I really want to make that meme. Yes, we need to get hunting on that later when we're done.
I'm sure there are more talented people out there who can find a picture of Heather and put it on someone dropping 20 hard drives.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if we have to recreate the meme or recreate a photo, I don't care. Yeah, let's do it. It needs to happen.
I forgot to actually ask Heather, but did she actually incur an injury? Because dropping those hard drives back in that day, if you weren't wearing steel toe caps.
That's very true. That is very true. I mean, I'm just impressed she was carrying 20 of them. Those things are heavy.
We were both busy laughing rather than showing any sort of duty of care to Heather to make sure that she was okay.
Yeah, sorry, Heather. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, we have two more that we did have in. I'm wondering whether or not we should we read these out? Should we quickly read them out, or put them into the next episode?
Let's
I kind of want to read.
Save number one, but put in the anonymous one. that I can't read.
Okay. Right. So I kind of want to put some weird music on in the background. You know, kind of like a sad story kind of music, like Confessions or something. So we did have a couple of people write in, and we will, if you write into us, if we will try and include your forensic faux pas in an episode, even if it's not the next one that we produce. So yeah. If you have written in and you don't hear it today, don't worry, it'll be on another episode. So this was requested as anonymous. It's from 10 years ago, and the person who wrote into us was writing about a colleague of theirs, or an ex-colleague of theirs. And it's an advisory tale for stories relating to PPE, so protective equipment. So the person who submitted this had a colleague who, unfortunately, had a habit of chewing things, particularly pen lids. I think we all know somebody who's done that. So we all know someone like that. On this particular occasion, he was conducting a manual examination on a mobile that had a stylus. It was that period of time when phones were transitioning from PDAs to phones, and a stylus was still considered fashionable and useful. My colleague finds himself unconsciously placing the stylus in his mouth while scrolling through this phone. So, phone, stylus from said exhibit, and officer putting stylus in their mouth as they're idly scrolling through, I assume doing a manual examination.
Yeah.
Several minutes later, he stumbles across a video, a personal recording by the owner. Just don't get me going. This video depicts the owner sitting in the cab of his lorry, taking said stylus and inserting it down his nethers. Places where styluses definitely should not go.
Not go, no.
Suddenly, my colleague is now cognizant of what is in his mouth. And was a paler man than when he started the examination. As you can imagine, he was briskly rushed to hospital for the necessary jabs. I mean, that's kind of horror levels of horror, isn't it? As an examiner, of you don't want that. Nobody wants that. That's so. I think the moral of the story is, wear PPE, particularly if you're someone who chews the ends of pen lids. Get a mask on, because it'll at least stop you putting that pen in your mouth.
And anybody who works in a corrections or prison in digital forensics is instantly saying, "This is why we bag up every time, and double glove and
yeah."
Oh,
can you just imagine? So thank you for writing in that one. Adam straight away told me that he would never be able to read that.
no, not
on
with
the show. We do have more. We don't have time for them today, unfortunately. But we will endeavour to get all of the forensic faux pas into future episodes. Please do keep writing in. I think that's all we've got time for on today's show. Is there anything else you wanted to add in, Adam, before we close things out?
Just a reminder of the email address, so podcast.ctf@gmail.com for forensic faux pas or anything else that you'd like us to cover.
There we go. We are on Twitter. We are on.
We did create a Twitter account, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, you did specifically. Yeah, you did. So we are on Twitter. We do share everything on LinkedIn. I don't think we don't have a LinkedIn specifically, but you and I are both on LinkedIn. So if you want to kind of reach out and connect with us, we share stuff about the podcast on there. And yeah, please subscribe to the different channels: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Acast, wherever. Not Avast, like I kept saying last time. Not Avast, Acast. Yeah, subscribe and you'll get notified when there's new episodes. But yeah, feel free to reach out to either of us, connect with us, chat to us, give us feedback, let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll do everything that we can to continue supporting you guys and the rest of the community. So
yeah, big thank you once again for tuning in and taking your time.
Yeah, thank you ever so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.